Wondering what light novels are most popular in Japan? Well, you've picked the right video to check out. In this video, I am counting down the top 10 individual best-selling volumes of light novels, as well as the top 10 best-selling series in Japan, this for the week of July 5th to the 11th of 2021. Hi there everybody, I'm Justus Stone. I do this list every single week and post it on a Monday. It is taken from the Oricon website. To get the top 10 individual volumes, I take a look at not only the light novel work list, but as well as the paperback and literary book lists, because sometimes the way the publishers publish and label their books, they don't always end up on the light novel list for some reason or other. In any case, like I said, this is for July 5th to the 11th of 2021. A couple of the ones on the list this week in both the individual volumes as well as the top selling series, obviously sitting there because of recent anime. So with that said, let's just get into it. So starting off with the top 10 individual volumes at number 10, volume number 2 of I'm a receptionist of the guild, but I don't like overtime work, so I'm going to subdue the boss solo. Super safe because it's a desk job, super stable because it's official business. What awaits Alina, who has become a guild receptionist, her ideal job, is a day full of overtime work that is far from ideal. It's all because of the slowdown in dungeon conquering. Having reached her limit, Alina grabs her hidden first-class adventurer's license and a shining silver warhammer and sets out to defeat the boss herself. She is the Executioner, an unidentified adventurer who appears in dead-end dungeons and is rumored to defeat bosses single-handedly. But that's definitely a secret. It's because receptionists are not allowed to work on the side. You'll be able to get a lot more out of this game than you think. It's a painful, overworldly comedy about the strongest receptionist who avoids overtime, keeps regular hours, and protects her peace with overwhelming power. So, obviously a newer series, and I even took a look to see if the author has other published works, and don't see anything listed, so I'm guessing this one is just doing well based off the blurb. I'm not too sure if any of you know of this title and know perhaps why it's popular. You could let me know in the comments down below. And of course, I forgot to say it had 4,280 copies sold this past week. At number 9, with 4,502 copies sold, volume number 2 of The Detective is Already Dead. You will be my assistant. During a plane hijacking 4 years ago, Kimitsuka Kimihiko wound up becoming the assistant to a beautiful detective named Siesta. The pair traveled the world solving crimes and battling criminal organizations. Until Siesta died, anyway. Kimitsuka thought that would spell the end of his adventures and a return to ordinary life, but an encounter with a girl who bears an uncanny resemblance to Siesta suggests that fate has other plans. So obviously this one has just, I guess at the point that I'm recording this, the second episode has come out of the anime, which it sounds to me like the first episode, which was an hour long, combined a whole lot of the Siesta adventures together, and that this new episode is sort of picking up with Kimitsuka in his average life. I haven't watched it because I heard there were tons of spoilers for future volumes because of how they chose to do this. Now, in the book, I've only finished the first book, review coming soon. In the book, they actually intertwine, like, the adventures that he has with Siesta are just these short little stories that are used to kind of give you some context about action that's about to happen. So introducing you to a character or introducing you to a villain, or even in like one it introduces a character but in a very sort of offhand kind of way. I don't want to spoil it, but in any case, the Siesta stuff is all woven into the book. It's not like the book is all about his adventures with Siesta and then she dies. So it's kind of interesting to hear that perhaps the anime has taken it in a different direction, and I'm kind of wondering if that's part of the reason that we're seeing volume 2 on the list at this point. But fear not, we will talk more about The Detective is Already Dead. At number 8, with 5,102 copies sold, Volume 27 of ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. Subaru Natsuki was just trying to get to the convenience store, but wound up summoned to another world. He encounters the usual things, life-threatening situations, silver-haired beauties, cat fairies, normal stuff. All that would be bad enough, but he's also gained the most inconvenient magical ability of all time. Time travel. But he's got to die to use it. How do you repay someone who saved your life when all you can do is die? Now, ReZero, of course, has just been an ongoing popular series. It's had 2 anime seasons. This is like the 3rd week, I guess, that this volume is on the list. So still doing fairly solid. It's just a really popular series. I mean, there's not much more you can say about it. It'll be interesting to see if there'll be more anime of it, though, in the future. Because, I mean, it seems like the anime has been relatively well received. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. At number 7, with 5,284 copies sold, volume number 1 of The Detective is Already Dead. See, I told you we'd be talking about this one again. And again, we'll be talking about it later on as well. So there's not much to say about this. I mean, it seems to me, obviously, that the anime has driven popularity of the book and notability of the book. So it makes perfect sense that in its opening week of the anime airing, that lots of people would be going out and checking out the novels. Especially, like I said, it sounds that even reading the very first novel kind of gets you ahead of the anime. Which is weird. It's weird that, the anime spoils stuff from later books, and yet, at the same time, doesn't spoil much from the first book? That's strange. Anyway, I don't know too much about it, because, like I said, trying to avoid spoilers, because I'll probably read later books, but in any case, it's at number 7 for volume number 1. At number 6, with 5,463 copies sold, volume 7 of Izakaya Nobu, or Otherwordly Izakaya Nobu. A Japanese-style pub called Nobu exists in a back alley of the fictional medieval European city of Irregular. When the citizens of this strange world sit down to enjoy some unfamiliar Japanese cuisine, their troubles simply melt away. So, I mean, it's kind of a riff on the whole restaurant to another world thing. I don't know the whole setup of this one. I do know that we have the manga available in English. I'm actually going to be reading the manga soon-ish for this one to check it out. But yeah, it sounds very much like the setup of it is kind of like Restaurant to Another World. At number 5, with 8,477 copies sold, it's the novelization of the film Belle. Suzu, a 17-year-old high school student living in a rural village with her father. For years, she has only been a shadow of herself. One day, Suzu enters You, a virtual world of 5 billion online members, and she becomes Belle, a world-famous singer. Belle soon meets with a mysterious creature with whom she embarks on a journey of adventures and love in their quest of becoming who they truly are. So as I'm recording this, I guess the film just opened up on Friday. So if you're watching this on the Monday, so it opened just a couple days ago. Obviously, the novelization's been on the list for weeks now. Lots of hype about this. Again, the trailer does look pretty cool, so I can't say that I'm too surprised. Not to mention that Mamoru Hosoda is fairly well regarded. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, though, now that the film itself is open, to see if this remains on the list or not. At number 4, with 9,477 copies sold, volume 4.5 of Classroom of the Elite, Second Year. The cutthroat school drama light novels that inspired an anime, students of the prestigious Tokyo Metropolitan Advanced Nurturing High School are given remarkable freedom if they can win, barter, or save enough points to work their way up the ranks. Ayana Koji Kiyotaka has landed at the bottom in the scorned Class D, where he meets Horikita Suzune, who's determined to rise up the ladder to Class A. Can they beat the system in a school where cutthroat competition is the name of the game? So, I mean, not much to say about it. It's Classroom of the Elite. The series does really phenomenally well. Every single time that I've looked at the top-selling light novels, if this has a new volume, it's on that list and remains on the list for weeks. I am still kind of curious as to why there's been no more anime announced. I don't know if for some reason the anime didn't sell very well in Japan. I don't know, but it seems like the anime has been really a favorite of people in the Western anime audience, and certainly the light novels themselves are incredibly popular in Japan. At number 3, with 14,234 copies sold, Spy Family Portrait. Master Spy Twilight is the best at what he does when it comes to going undercover on dangerous missions in the name of a better world. But when he receives the ultimate impossible assignment, get married and have a kid, he may finally be in over his head. Not one to depend on others, Twilight has his work cut out for him procuring both a wife and a child for his mission to infiltrate an elite private school. What he doesn't know is that the wife he's chosen is an assassin, and the child he's adopted is a telepath. So this one, the manga, which is the original version of this, is licensed and being released in English by Viz. It looks to me like the light novel is possibly a retelling. It's kind of difficult to tell just based on the machine translation that I've done, because the machine translation basically all it says is it's like the hit manga now in light novel form, which means to me that they are retelling the story but doing it in prose. But that often with the light novels based on manga, they're usually side stories. They aren't often retellings, although there have been those in the past as well. So I'm really not too sure which this one is. It does have artwork by the mangaka, so that could be another thing that's helping to sell it. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't kept up with how manga sell in Japan, so I don't know how this one is regarded on the Japanese side in the manga world. So I'm guessing pretty well if the light novel is doing this well, because this is the second week that it's relatively high on the top 10 best-selling list. At number 2, with 15,348 copies sold, it's volume 2 of New, the Irregular at Magic High School, Cygnus Maidens. This follows two girls named Arisa and Marika. Though raised as sisters, Arisa is one day entrusted to the elite Jumonji magical family, separating them for 2 years. Now, both are enrolled at first high school and finally reunite. So yes, it's a spin-off of the Irregular at Magic High School. I don't know its connection to that series. I don't know if these are characters that show up maybe later on in the series. Their names don't really ring a bell. But mind you, I only read like the first 2 volumes quite a long time ago. So I'm not too sure. If you know more about these characters or even how this ties in, I'd be curious to know. Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, at number 1, with 18,137 copies sold, Volume 23 of Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Programmer Ichiro Suzuki is transported to another world. In a foreign land, he finds that life is an adventure that's sometimes fun, sometimes serious, and full of girls. That's the yen-on description for the official English edition, which I really don't know if that in any way does this series justice. It's, you know, I only read the first volume. I understand that it's mostly like a slow life adventure, like easygoing adventure series. I'm sure the stakes get raised here and there as they go along. But yeah, it's kind of funny to me though that this one is doing so well. I guess maybe only because it's not a series that you hear about a lot, and when it did get the anime adaptation, it really didn't seem like a lot of people were that much into the anime. In fact, it seemed like there were quite a number of people that were kind of turned off because of how the anime was done. So I don't know. I mean, you know, again, I've heard that the series is fairly decent, especially when you get beyond like the first volume and the author kind of finds their groove. But I'd be curious if you're a fan of this series. Why so? What are your thoughts about it? You can leave that in the comments down below. So those are your top 10 best-selling individual volumes for the week of July 5th to the 11th, 2021. I'll now cover the top 10 series. Obviously, some of these I'll give you the description of them because they, funny enough, don't have any volumes in the individual volumes list. But a good number of them, I'm just going to tell you where they placed on the list because we've already talked about them quite a bit. So, at number 10, 86. The San Magnolia Republic has long been under attack by unmanned weapons from the neighboring empire. Against this onslaught, the Republic has also deployed similar weapons, narrowly avoiding great loss of life and impending disaster. Or at least, that's how it seemed. The truth is that it has never been possible to have no casualties. Young men and women drawn from the Republic's supposedly non-existent 86th District are organized into the 86 Unit, and then ordered to pilot the, quote, unmanned weapons before heading to battle. So this one's still, I would say, riding high off of the performance of its anime last season. The anime seemed to be quite well received. It seems that they really did a good success of not only adapting that first volume, but also including some anime original stuff that actually helped the story benefit, which, let's be honest, doesn't seem to happen often. But again, the anime, as far as I understand, really it only adapted the first volume. It may have cherry-picked some stuff from other later volumes, but for the most part, adapted volume 1. So I think what we're seeing in this is like, because the top 10 series, of course, is a sales of the entire series. So I'm thinking we're seeing people jumping on board and reading ahead because and seeing what happens after volume number 1 and where the anime cut off. At number 9, ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. Again, no big surprise given the strength of the sales of the most recent volume, and as I said, this takes into account sales of all the volumes in a series, and not only when you've got 27 volumes, but when you've got one that's sitting in the top 10, not unlikely you're going to get into the top 10 best-selling volumes. At number 8, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Living alone and never having had a girlfriend, 37-year-old Satoru Mikami is dissatisfied with how his life has turned out. But after dying at the hands of a robber, he awakens to a fresh new start in a new world as a slime monster. So of course this one, I mean, there's been anime after anime. They're just kind of adapting. It's become like the new Sword Art. Let's adapt just everything that we can. Spin-offs, slice of life, manga comedy, multiple series based on multiple volumes, and I'd say it obviously seems to be working because it's been in the top 10 best-selling series list since I started doing this several weeks ago. At number 7, Classroom of the Elite. Again, given the sales of the most recent volume and that the sales are collectively for all previous volumes, no big surprise. At number 6, Dao Zu Shi. Jian, the state of immortality that all cultivators strive to achieve. However, there is a dark energy that lies underneath, the forbidden Mo Dao, or demonic path. Through an unfortunate series of tragedies, this is the path that cultivator Wei Wu Zhan experiments with during his teachings. His rise in power is accompanied by chaos and destruction, but his reign of terror comes to an abrupt end when the cultivation clans overpower him and he is killed by his closest ally. 13 years later, Wei Wu Zhan is reincarnated in the body of a lunatic and reunited with Lang Wangji, a former classmate of his. This marks the beginning of a supernatural mystery that plagues the clans and threatens to disrupt their everyday life. Dao Zu Shi follows these two men on their mission to unravel the mysteries of the spiritual world. Fighting demons, ghosts, and even other cultivators, the two end up forming a bond that neither of them had ever expected. So this is a Chinese novel which has gone on to receive several incarnations in terms of adaptations. There's like a live action one, there is an anime. The last, I guess, the novels have been now released in Japan in sort of a light novel format, which really seems to have been received well, because last week 2 volumes were on there because volume 3 had just been released, and volume 2 hit the list as well because of it. A couple weeks back, volume 1 and 2 were released, and they were, of course, took over the list. So again, a really popular series. I'm not too sure if we'll ever see this one officially licensed and released in print in English, but maybe, given how well it's doing. At number 5, Belle. At number 4, Spy Family. At number 3, new The Irregular at Magic High School, Cygnus Maidens. At number 2, Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. And finally, at number 1, The Detective is Already Dead. So, I mean, again, even though The Detective is Already Dead wasn't sitting at number 1 or 2 or 3 in the top 10 individual volumes, it did have 2 books in the top 10, and of course, that's not even all of the books that have been released. So, clearly this one getting a huge boost from its anime, and it's going to be interesting to see how the anime continues to be received, and if we continue to see this book series performing strongly over the run of the anime. I'm always kind of curious to see the way that anime adaptations influence the sales and performance of light novels. In any case, that is your top 10 best-selling light novel volumes and light novel series in Japan for the week of July 5th to the 11th, 2021. Of course, like I said, I post this every single Monday, so, be here next Monday and you can see what was selling that week. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out this video. I will see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.